Genesis chapter 14, King James Version. And it came to pass in the days of Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elazar, Chedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of nations, that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Bersha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, and Shemeber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, which is Zor. All these were joined together in the vale of Siddim, which is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Chedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year came Chedorlaomer and the kings that were with him, and smote the Rephaims and Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzims and Ham, and the Emims and Shaveh, Kiriathaim, and the Horites in their Mount Seir unto El Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they returned and came to Mishap, which is Kadesh, and smote all the country of the Amalekites, and also the Amorites, which dwelt in Hazazon Tamar. And there went out the king of Sodom, and the king of Gomorrah, and the king of Admah, and the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, the same as Zor. And they joined battle with them in the vale of Siddim, and Chedorlaomer, the king of Elam, and with Tidal, king of nations, and Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5. And the vale of Siddim was full of slime pits, and the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their victuals, and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol, and brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants, born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan. And he divided himself against them, he and his servants, by night, and smote them, and pursued them unto Habra, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the woman also, and the women also to the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed them. And he said, Blessed be Abram to the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which has delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods to thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me. Aner, Eshol, Mamre, let them take their portion. There's a lot going on here. I'm going to try to point a few things out that I can see. So Genesis chapter 14 is basically a whole lot of kingdoms at war. I mean, it looks like some are coming together against others. Sorry about my butchering of their names. But I might even be interpreting this wrong. So I don't really want to say what kingdoms were against what, but it looks like there was a for sure Sodom and Gomorrah was there were a bunch of kingdoms after them, it looks like, that were against them, that came together against them in a rebel after 13 years, I guess, of being joined together. So they had a little more than a decade before this rebellion and this war broke out, and it seems like the kingdom of Sodom and Gomorrah I'm not even sure, to be honest. There's a lot going on in here that I probably need to break down more. It's the names that's really tripping me up. But oh gosh. Yeah, it just looks like they lost. Sodom and Gomorrah lost, and it's the kings fled. And I don't know, it just looks like the kings fled, the kingdoms that rebelled against these kingdoms, and it looks like they kind of just took all their goods, and a lot of things were going on with those two kingdoms. And Lot, Abram's nephew, it looks like was caught in the middle of that because he chose that land in the Jordan from last chapter 13. He chose that lush looking land that happened to be by Sodom and Gomorrah, and then unfortunately it looks like he just kind of got swept up in that because he lived over there, and so they took him and his camp and things too. And it says at verse 13, and there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew. Note, this is the first time we are hearing this, that he's about the Hebrew. You know, it hasn't been mentioned before this point in time, at least not in the King James Version. And so I'm kind of wondering the significance of that, when it was that established. Obviously, it has something to do with the covenant between Abram and God. And this is just a new type of people, a distinct type of people, a set apart people from the world. And this is their name, the Hebrew. But one had escaped from verse 13, going back to that. One had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshol, brother of Anar, and these were confederate with Abram. So it looks like Abram had some allies. And whoever escaped all this craziness went to tell him that Lot was taken and caught up in the middle of this war, this rebellion of a bunch of kingdoms in that area. And he took his servants, and by night was just creeping, and took them out, took out some people to get his brother back, or his nephew, but it says his brother here, which, technically, yes, this is his kinsman. So he rescues Lot. Obviously, God's hand is in this. But he rescues Lot, and it says the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return. This is verse 17. The king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and the kings that were with him. Verse 18, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. This is the first mention of a priest. This is the first mention of being a priest of the Most High God. There's a lot of speculation as to who Melchizedek is. Says he's king of Salem, and he's also a priest. So he's a priest and a king. Sounds like he might be the first priest, at least the first one mentioned here. And I'm not going to say necessarily who this person is. Some people think it's Jesus. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out as we read on and get to break things down a little more. I'm always down for hearing any kind of ideas or hypothesis, or just what anyone else is thinking about any of this, really, in chapter 14, because it's a lot going on here. There's a war, and Sodom and Gomorrah are just kind of, I guess, getting it. And Lot's in the middle of that. He gets taken. Abram rescues him when he finds out. And then at the end, the king of Sodom and this king Melchizedek comes with gifts. And he blessed him. Verse 19, he blessed him and said, "Blessed be Abram to the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand." And he gave them tithes of all. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, "Give me the persons, and take the goods thyself." And Abram said to the king of Sodom, "I have lifted up mine hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from the thread even a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich." So, I don't know if this has to do with, chapter 11-ish. Chapter 12. Genesis chapter 12, where Abram did become rich because of Pharaoh and kind of trading in his wife because he lied. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to avoid that. I have no idea. I would love to hear what anyone else has to say about this. This is a really interesting chapter, but it just leaves me with a lot of thesis, not necessarily any concrete anything. I get the gist of what's going on in the chapter, but there's so many little things going on in here, like little hidden gems, that I think chapter 14 is very significant. So I'm just interested in knowing what anyone else thinks or what really spoke to them about this chapter. Abram did not take anything from the king of Sodom. He just wanted his nephew back. He didn't even want anything to do with this war. He just wanted to get his family, rescue his family from all that that he was caught up in involuntarily. So it's really interesting. It says in verse 24, which is the last verse, this is Abram speaking, save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me. Anir, Ishkol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. So he's saying, I don't want anything. I don't need you saying that you made me rich. But, if you want to give your gifts to someone, then you should be giving it to the young men, the portion of the men which went with me, Inar, Ashkol, and Mamre. He's saying, give it to them. And I just want to look back one more time to... So those are his allies from 13. And he came, one that had escaped, and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plain of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshkol, and brother of Anir. And these were confederate with Abram. So these are the people that helped him rescue his family, his nephew Lot. These three were in alliance with him, and at the end in verse 24 he's saying he doesn't want anything for himself, but he wants, if there's going to be a reward, give it to his allies that helped him. So yeah, I guess in a way, kind of indirectly, Abram and his allies saved the king of Sodom, or came to his rescue, indirectly, when rescuing his family, Lot, and, what Lot had. Very interesting. I don't really have too much else to say about this. This was very interesting. The pronunciation of these names, they killed me just now. But I'm just wondering also the significance of Melchizedek. I'm going to probably be researching that today just because I'm curious, just to hear what other people I've researched this before, but it escapes me here in this study. So I kind of want to look into that a little more. Just who that is. If it was actually like just this king that was a priest, or if it was some sort of further significance, like was it Jesus Christ? Who was this? And what does it say about him being a king and a priest? Was he the first priest? There's so many questions when it comes to that character. Who is that? But yeah, it already says that there's a lot of wickedness in Sodom and Gomorrah. It already says this in Genesis chapter 13, mind you. So probably there's this rebellion that's coming towards Sodom and Gomorrah. It probably has to do with some sort of God hand curse. That's just kind of foreshadowing what's to come for them anyway. It's just doesn't seem like it's a kingdom that's meant to last, unfortunately, because it is very sinful. But anyway, that's all I got out of this. I would love to hear anybody else's opinion, things that stood out to them, what they think of maybe the things that I've already mentioned, what they even think of this chapter, or just so far what the story is unfolding. We're going to move on to chapter 15. The Shabbat is coming in tonight, so I might end up recording that one as well today so that I don't work on the Shabbat. So we'll see. I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I pray a hedge of protection over you, many, 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 many blessings over you, just everything, guys, everything good from God, and just that you let him lead your life and just mold your heart, In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, I pray this for you. Many, many, many blessings over you. Amen, and I love you. Bye.